Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is former Congressman Brad Carson. He is the president for Americans for Responsible Innovation and the founder of Public First Action PAC. Congressman, thank you so much for joining me.
Brittany, an honor to be with you today.
I'm really grateful for the time today because as someone who's really immersed in the artificial intelligence space, I'm excited to get your perspective on the moment we find ourselves in now. Because since 2022, when ChatGPT exploded, there have been a lot of different feelings when it comes to AI. Some people have embraced it, they've implemented it into their work life and their daily life. Other people have said, I don't even know what AI really is, what that means and what that encompasses. And other people are saying, I'm really frightened. This is going to completely take my job and I will be left unemployed. And some people in the tech sector and lawmakers have long been sounding the alarm on AI. And an article from a co-founder at an AI company recently went viral. It was called "Something Big is Happening." And it said that this co-founder, he's seeing the latest AI models and it's making him believe that, quote, the capability for massive disruption could be here by the end of this year. And it's coming for every single industry. So to start off the conversation, what are your thoughts on the moment we are in right now?
I think it's a critical moment for the country, for the world. This technology is going to be revolutionary. The aspiration of the AI companies is to basically digitize all of the work that we do. This will have incredible social implications. We're spending $1 trillion each year building out these models. The smartest people in the world are converging on Northern California to make it happen, and they're showing real progress. So I think we should take it very seriously. That viral article you mentioned, I think really did capture it. That this is going to be one of those moments in history that people look back on and say it was an inflection point in how civilization developed.
And if we're really on the precipice of this revolutionary moment, and I'm someone in the workforce, I'm thinking, what exactly does this mean for me? What exactly does this mean for my job? Because as that article pointed out, and as conversations reflect, AI isn't just coming for one industry and then people make different choices there. It is coming for every single industry. It will change every single industry. So what does this mean for the workforce?
It's going to have really serious implications. In a few years, if we permit it, we could have a conversation between the two of us where our avatars are talking. And perhaps AI is trained on everything we've written or said in the past, or actually channeling our legitimate beliefs. And so people like you and me might be rendered, no longer needed. And that's true across the entire workforce. And so I think it's going to call into question, of course, like how we make money, how we distribute benefits, like how welfare policy is organized. But more broadly than that, I think it brings into question like our very democracy. Most of our identity is as a citizen who participates in the labor force. We pay taxes to government. We expect things from government in return for paying those taxes. In a world where labor is no longer taxed, perhaps, where most of us aren't working, in my mind, social pathology could be everywhere, be very present, how we occupy people's time, like the role of the government. Do they still care about what I believe if I'm no longer someone paying taxes? Are wars more frequent as a result of this? What happens to our civil liberties? It's going to call into question the entire social contract.
There are a lot of existential questions there. And as you were saying that, I was just thinking, I have had a job since I was a teenager. That is true, though, for so many different Americans. And for a lot of people, your job is your identity. AI is threatening that. What does this do to the human race, really, when a big part of our identity could be stripped and could be forever altered by this technology, and it's right at our doorstep right now?
I don't have a great answer for you because I don't know is the short way to say it. I think if you talk to people in Silicon Valley, they say, well, we'll all be painting and reading novels and watching Netflix all day long. And there'll be some form of universal basic income because the incredible wealth will be redistributed to each of us. But I share your concern. My identity is about I get up in the morning, I take a shower, I go to work, I come home, I have dinner. It's more than just a paycheck. It's really how I structure my life. It gives me motivation to get up in the morning. Now, everyone loves their job, that's for sure, but it gives them some kind of arc to their day and to their week. And to not have that, I think, is actually going to be very profound. And I personally worry that people won't be painting or reading novels, but will be doing things that are more pathological.
And that sounds like a nice, rosy future, though. But who knows if that would be a reality where you can just sit on the couch and watch Netflix, you can read and write and paint. But I want to know, I mean, I am really curious because this is going to upend the economy, it's going to upend the workforce. What do you think members of Congress, the Senate, need to do right now? Because someone who's been sounding the alarm too is Senator Mark Warner. He said we're not ready for the impact AI is going to have on our workforce. AI has some incredible applications, but it will also very likely upend our economy and make it harder for young adults to find jobs. What laws or regulations do you think need to be put in place today?
Well, I think people in Congress need to get smart about the issue to start, right? Most people are just now becoming acquainted with AI, understanding its implications for us all, for the globe. And so that's the first thing they need to do. The other thing they do need to start thinking about like what a post-AGI future could look like, artificial general intelligence. When AI comes and replaces most of our work, when it's capable of doing the cognitive labor that you and I are now paid to do, what's it going to look like? It's going to be a world probably where you have to have some kind of redistribution of wealth. We're going to have to tax capital more than we tax labor because labor force participation has dropped, to 10% or maybe even less than that. You're going to have like massive retraining efforts, I think, for those jobs that are still available before we get robotics online. Robotics is a longer project, maybe 20 years away. So things that are still involving humans in the building trades, training people to do that. I think you have to rethink like what it means to be a citizen in this country. And these are all like really important questions that government's yet to grapple with.
I was at this dinner last week and it was people that were there were from all different industries, and the topic of AI came up, and one of the people there asked, how is everyone using AI? And there was a broad spectrum when it came to the answers. Some people saying, I'm not really into AI. That's not my thing. I'm not really using it. And I was struck by one answer because someone said, I'm testing on it every day, because if you're not using AI, that's like someone saying when Google came along or when the internet in general or a computer came along, someone saying, I'm not really going to use a computer. That's not really my thing. How would you suggest people implement AI into their everyday lives and their jobs?
Well, I'd say two things. Even if you think you're not using it, it's using you, because AI is now pervasive in our life. The shows you're watching on television, all those Netflix recommendations, the feed in your social media, those are all determined by algorithms, and that's AI of a sort. Generative AI you're talking about, the chatbots, are ones that people should be using. They're incredible tools. They make me smarter, better. I have it review things I've written. I have it review speeches I'm going to give to make sure I don't make errors. I ask it questions about things I want to know about. Perhaps I'm not sure about this issue. Like, explain it to me. And if I want to ask about it, something like really kind of technical, if I wanted to teach me quantum physics, I don't have the background. I'm like, teach it to me like I'm a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 20-year-old. And it like calibrates it perfectly. It's an incredible tool for that. And if we want to be smarter and participate in kind of the information economy, people should be using it. So the AI is everywhere. And so even if you think you're avoiding it somehow because you're not on Chat GPT, how much you're paying for your apartment, your credit scores, all these things, algorithms are determining that. And that's all AI.
I've done that a lot where I've asked something, AI, a topic, and then said, explain this to me like I'm a fifth grader. And it does a really good job of breaking down exactly what you need to know. You can digest it easier that way. But how will this, do you think, impact the midterms, impact the presidential election in 2028? How big of an issue do you think AI is going to be?
I think it's going to be a bigger and bigger issue. I was talking to a pollster this week, and he said that it's true if you ask people their top 20 most important issues, affordability, education, social security, these still remain the top ones. But AI is increasing in salience faster than any issue he has seen in his polling career. And you see it on the ground where people are protesting data centers, often in very red states. But these are not NIMBYs, these are not liberals, these are Trump voters who are very concerned about it. I do think by 2026, when these midterms come around in a few months, it's going to be a more important issue. And by 2028, I think it's going to be one of the 2 or 3 most important issues in the country. And every presidential candidate is going to have a position on it. And that's a big change from 2024, where the word AI, artificial intelligence, was not uttered by any candidate in the entire field over the course of that campaign.
And now I'm thinking if I'm someone who is a kid, a teenager, I'm looking to go to college, I'm thinking about, do I want to go to college even? Is that a smart investment for me? What would I study if I went there? I mean, what do you think the answers are? Because something that struck me is the CEO of Anthropic, he predicted recently that AI will wipe out half of all white collar entry level jobs within 1 to 5 years. So if I'm a high school junior or senior right now, I'm seeing this and thinking, you know what? Do I change my path? Do I change my trajectory? Do I change my career choice? How do you answer those questions?
I think college still has value for the right person, right? Maybe you should study philosophy because actually questions about what's it mean to live a good life are going to be more relevant than ever. If we're all painting and writing novels and we don't have like meaningful employment, but we're getting a lot of redistributed wealth, then you're gonna have a lot of time to think through like what's it mean to live a good life. But I do think it's going to challenge education profoundly. There's still probably the best schools, the most elite schools, the social networks you get there, the people you meet. That's incredibly valuable and probably worth it. But day in, day out, I think college is going to become less important. And you see this actually in the market. Fewer and fewer jobs that are being posted, have a college degree as a requirement. That used to be everywhere. You had to have a college degree. Now, more and more jobs don't have that requirement because you can teach yourself. There are new assessments. You can use AI actually to assess your capabilities. It used to be a college degree was like the only way we could know, like, were you actually conscientious enough? Did you have the human capital formation of college? Now I can develop like unique tests for you to like say, like, do this work, and AI can evaluate it for you, and you can do that at scale. So I think education is going to be one of the industries that's particularly disrupted, and you're going to have fewer and fewer people think that college is really the right choice for them.
I do now want to switch gears a little bit and turn to a fight that is continuing to brew between one AI company and the Pentagon. The AI company's Anthropic, that is the maker of Claude, and the DoD both have been really locking horns on how the military can use AI. The AI company has secured a multi-million-dollar contract with the DoD, but it wants guardrails on how the military can use its technology and models. And according to Axios, Anthropic wants to ensure that the DoD isn't using its technology to either make autonomous weapons or, quote, spy on Americans in mass. Now the Pentagon is telling news outlets that its relationship with Anthropic is under review. So what are your thoughts on that dispute?
I think it doesn't make a lot of sense at the moment because they've gone beyond that at the Department of War to say that they may declare Anthropic to be a supply chain risk, which are what companies like Huawei, the Chinese IT company, is designated as. And therefore, no American company doing business with the government could use Anthropic products. So it's one thing to simply say, you know what, Anthropic has every right to stipulate how you can use its products. The Department of War can choose to use those or not, as the case may be. It turns out that Anthropic's products are so good that people want to use them. But the idea that you're going to then weaponize this idea and call a company like Anthropic Huawei and try to hurt them from doing business with really every Fortune 500 company because they all have government contracts, that makes no sense. It's an incredible escalation, and we have no precedent for that in American business history.
Do you think that Anthropic has the right then to tell the DoD, hey, I know we have this contract, but I want to put some stipulations on exactly how you use our technology?
I think they do. It's a contractual term, right? You can say, like, I want you to use it for this or not that. And then the Department of War can say, like, I accept those or not, right? That's what bargaining is about. People have the right to say, if I make an airplane, if I make something like that, I can say, I will sell it to you under these terms. And if you don't want those terms, right, you don't have to buy it. Find an alternative vendor. The other OpenAI and Google seem to be willing to sell it on different terms. So I think that's fair market bargaining. What isn't fair is to declare them a supply chain risk. That makes no sense, and is really an incredible escalation that is trying to put more pressure on them than I think is merited.
I know that there's a lot of different perspectives, as I said at the start of this conversation, when it comes to AI. I'm curious, do you think the national conversations, really even the international conversations when it comes to AI, do you think it's more fear-mongering or people need to be paying more attention?
People need to be paying more attention. I think most people's intuitions are right about AI, which is like, this could be powerfully beneficial to us. It could cure cancer, find new materials, make us wealthier. It could automate the most mundane of tasks, right, that humans don't like to do. Everyone is all for that. It can make us smarter in the way we talked about earlier, right? Teach it to me like a fifth grader, like a high school kid, right? Incredible tool to make us better educated. At the same time, they see like it could be used for negative purposes, right? We know that children can be led to self-harm, even suicide, through interaction with AIs. It could make terrorists more effective at developing novel pathogens or chemical weapons. It could be used for offensive cyber operations. And so most people like, hey, we should have some guardrails about it too. And so that's, I think, what most people have. It's like they're not against AI, but they're not for this like libertarian vision of AI where like there should be no rules around it. It's like, yeah, let's use this technology in a way that like benefits humanity and keeps the worst aspects from actually being realized. That's really what the fight is about. So people need to get smarter about it. It's going to be an incredibly impactful technology, and I think their intuitions are mostly correct.
And who do you think is responsible for putting those guardrails on? Do you think it's the AI companies themselves? Do you think it's lawmakers coming together and saying, hey, this is how here's how companies need to use and make their AI responsibly? Or do you think it's on the user themselves to say, this is how I want to use AI, and it's not really up to lawmakers or the AI companies?
I think all three of those groups have a role there. The AI companies need to be responsible, and to their credit, most of them take this responsibility very seriously. But the government should have a role too, because that's how we have democratic accountability. You don't want to leave the use of AI to 4 or 5 leaders at these companies, and have them tell us. Their values maybe not what the values of the median American voter are. And if you're a user, yes, you should be like thinking like, how do I want my kids to interact with this? Do I want them to interact with this? That's a family decision and a personal decision. So each of those levels have a role, but there is a role for government in this because that's how we collectively say, do we want AI to do mass public surveillance or not? Do we want that? I don't want Dario Amodei or Sam Altman or Demis Hassabis, the kind of major lab leaders, to make that decision. Their intuitions may be right about it, but I don't want 3 people in San Francisco making that call. Right? I want there to be like a broad public debate about that question, and then I think we'll come to the right decision.
And my last question to you, I just want to go back to that viral article. It was called, like I said, Something Big is Happening. And it started off and it said, we're at that moment where it was like February 2020, you're living your normal life. People are talking about this COVID, this coronavirus that's happening, but it's not really affecting your life yet. So some people were being extra cautious, other people saying, that's not going to be a big deal. Then, as we remember, the world completely changed in mid-March of 2020, and suddenly COVID was your entire life. And the author of the article said, we're at this moment when it comes to AI. People in the tech industry, software engineers, they're talking about it, but other people yet, they're not as focused on this because it's not impacting their industries as much. So someone like yourself who is so seeped into the AI world, what would you say to people at perhaps a dinner party who aren't hearing these alarm bells? What would you say to them? What do you think's missing from the conversation?
I think a lot of people believe this is preposterous. They think like, well, this is like some kind of science fiction scenario, and like you seem almost childish to think this could happen. I tell people like, you must believe it. They're spending $1 trillion to make it happen. The smartest people in the world are making meaningful progress, and just listen to them. Listen to what they want to do. They're coming to like disrupt your way of life in very profound ways. And like I said, you must be paying attention to it. And it's easy to dismiss it as some kind of like Terminator fantasy or 2001, idea. Like, no, it's very real. And so one must buckle down and be ready for it. And there are good things to it, right? There are many positive parts about it that you can take advantage of, but you should protect yourself against the downsides too.
And to that point, because when I talk to people about this, a lot of the times I do get blown off for being like, that's not going to happen. That sounds science fiction-y. Would the world in 1 year, in 5 years, is it going to look drastically different? Or is your computer just going to code your job and you can go around and live your life normally?
I don't think you're going to be able to live your life normally, right? Because the exponential curve they're on means that next year is going to be a lot different than this year. In 5 years, it may be unrecognizable what the world looks like. And we've talked about some of the mitigations to that. Like imagine this political world. Are we going to have universal basic income? Are we going to have redistributed wealth? Are we going to be taxing these AI companies? That's a hard thing to do in America. And so like all the things that help society adjust to AI are not easy things to achieve politically in this environment. So you could have like all of us out of work, or a lot of us out of work. You have incredible income inequality. You can see democracy degraded, and no real effort to solve those problems. That's the worst of all worlds. And I think that's coming certainly within 5 years, and probably sooner than that.
Well, there are certainly a lot of big question marks looming. And as we see just this rapid development of AI, I hope you can come back on and join me for another conversation and talk to us about the moment we're in then. But for now, thank you so much. I appreciate the time, Congressman. You are welcome back anytime.
Thanks, Brittany.